So what did you guys do during your free time, if you ever had any? Because I know you guys probably couldn't go anywhere because girls were just everywhere.
I tried to live as normal life as possible. I mean, I stayed living at the house I grew up in Dorchester through all the hype of the New Kids. I didn't move out of that house till like 93 or 94. So, I was always I always worked out, took care of my body, played basketball, spent a lot of time in the studio, because from the beginning of the group I learned how to engineer and recorded a lot of the vocals on a lot of the records. And I tried to, it was mostly when we weren't working, I was trying to work to learn as much as possible about the business, about engineering, production, songwriting, and all that kind of stuff. And, my life still has always revolved around music.
Right. Yeah, because I know you were like the buff one of the group, so I saw like in several videos you were pumping the iron, getting your diesel on, and all that good stuff, like 1, max out, 2, max out. Come on, Donnie. Spot, Donnie. 3.
Nah, I just always, I definitely have always lifted weights, but I'm not no big giant dude. I mean, I'm 162 pounds. I'm not a big dude.
All right. Yeah, you just wanted to keep yourself toned.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I can appreciate that, especially like with the pop game. Now, I know the critics were basically lambasting you guys along with groups like Color Me Bad and all that, saying you guys such a trend, and basically they didn't know that teenagers basically run it. They're the ones that buy the records.
Sure. I mean, everything goes in cycles. It's like right now, there's no real boy bands, and there's really nothing like that right now. But you give it a few years, it'll come right back around. I mean, the kind of little example is the whole phenomenon of that High School Musical thing. It's like when my daughters are 8 and 9 years old, like that's big with them, because, it's that teen kind of where you're so young, you kind of don't know what's good and what's not. And it all goes in cycles. So there's, and I honestly, for me, the only thing I ever cared about was when people accused us of something that was false, with like the lip syncing thing. I mean, if you don't like us, what can I do about it? You're gonna write what you're gonna write and say the things you want to say, and in the end, I've lived a blessed life, so I don't really care what critics say.
Right. Yeah, and definitely Donnie made that known on the Game's remix.
Yeah, he definitely, like I said before, we weren't the kind of group that would take things sitting down. So he was like the voice for the group, and he didn't like that. He didn't like to be so harshly criticized. And, he was justified, because it's in the end, it's music. And in the end, we were a positive influence on a lot of kids, in America, where there was a lot of negativity. And, we definitely, we didn't deserve so much negative, criticism as we got. And he was the one that stood up and, voiced it.
Right, because basically you guys kept it real, and that's what I believe made you guys so appealing, that you guys were just 5 regular kids singing and dancing and just being good, positive role models, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the one thing is, all the groups that came after us, we had made all the mistakes. We had already created a blueprint for the groups that came after us. I mean, we followed what New Edition did, but we definitely took it to a different, different kind of pop level.
Mm-hmm.
And we had made all the mistakes, so the groups after us knew exactly what to do. They just had to follow. If you look at all the groups after us, they had the same makeup, the same kind of groups, the same kind of shows, and they basically followed, what we did.
Yeah, that was going to lead me to my next question. How'd you feel about the teen pop revival during the late 90s and early 2000s with Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, 98 Degrees?
I thought it was great. I mean, especially like NSYNC. I really always thought NSYNC was a really, I still talk to some of those guys. So like I've always thought they were like really good guys and really doing it for the love of the music and performing. And I thought it was great. I had no issues with it until you heard some of like the Backstreet Boys saying negative things about us, and you know, them guys, all they needed to be doing is saying, you know, the New Kids paved the way for us, just like we said New Edition paved the way for us. And that was my only thing is, you know, with some of the guys in Backstreet Boys, they should have just kept their mouths shut.
Yeah, so basically respect your roots.
Yeah, respect your roots, respect, don't act like you're in a different kind of group. They act like they were the Eagles, and they were just like us.
Right, and also should be known, too, that Johnny Wright, who worked for you guys back in the day, he worked with Backstreet Boys and later went on to work with NSYNC.
Oh, yeah, I mean, come on, it was like, if you went to see them, and all the people, our bodyguards, our assistants, all worked, sound men, everyone was working for them. So it wasn't like they reinvented the wheel. I mean, come on. You know, Johnny Wright started out with us, you know, driving a Winnebago, driving us around the country. He was our driver, you know what I mean? That's how he started with, you know, with us. And, you know, that's the only thing, you know, show some respect. And then everything's all good.
Yeah, now, what was your take on the British group Take That? They were the British equivalent to you guys and were successful over in Europe, but couldn't quite crack it big over here in the States.
They were all right. I think, you know, the only thing with them is, you know, when you're doing such when you're doing pop music like that, it's a little bit harder to crack over here if you're not from here. You know, because Americans are going to be like, well, we already got that here. We got our American groups that do that and do it better. So, you know, that's why, you know, I think it was so difficult for them. But, you know, I was recently over there in England working, and they actually have done a new record, and the record actually sounds good. And, you know, I never thought anything but, you know, they were all right with me.
Right. Definitely, because I noticed that I was listening to Pray just recently, and I'm like, great pop song, and if they would have released that over here, they possibly could have did a little something in the States, which leads me to my next question. Why do you think it's much harder for pop acts to break over here than overseas? Because Backstreet Boys and NSYNC had to go to Europe first before they broke back stateside.
Well, that's the other thing that, you know, was the reason why I felt Backstreet Boys needed to respect us a little bit, because we laid the groundwork in America and throughout the world for all these groups. Over there, it's a little more acceptable because it's just a wider open market. Like, not now, but back then, like, hip-hop wasn't as big overseas as it was in America. So there's less kind of music, less different genres of music you were competing with over there. And pop was, like, the main genre of music, you know. So I think for them those groups were started by Johnny Wright and Lou Pearlman, and I think they had a vision, let's break them in Europe first, where it's a little bit easier, people accept this pop sound easier, and then bring it to America. And they had different versions of their albums, from the European version to when they finally released it in America, they went and recorded new songs and kept some of the old songs and did new videos. I mean, if you saw some of the first NSYNC videos that were released over in Europe, we never saw them over here. I saw them, but like they were really, really cheesy. And them guys would be the first to tell you, wow, you know, thank God that video didn't come out in America.
Right, because I saw the I Want You Back video, the European version. I'm like, ugh, this is just god awful.
Oh yeah. Was that the one with all the tight shirts on?
Yeah, there was like in a spaceship or something.
I was actually at that video shoot.
For real?
Yeah, I met them. The first time I met them was there at that video shoot. And at first I walked in and I was like, yo, what is this with these dudes with the tight shirts on and the spaceship? But then I met them, and I met their moms and all this stuff, and they were really, you know, a bunch of genuine guys. And, you know, that's why I definitely show them some respect.
Right.